To myself. Hold on a second. All right. Maybe we're live now. I hit the button go live. I know I did. And then I got it. I had to hit that button again. But this is a little distracting, and I apologize. Oh, well. We're just going to jump right into our interview. And I've got Rich Munroe first. And Rich, welcome, man. Glad you're here. Thanks for
having me, Roger.
Yeah, thanks for hanging around and waiting for us to actually be live. And now I just got a text that says Facebook's still not playing. So I don't know. Maybe we're just making a recording that we can post on our YouTube channel later on. But okay, hold on. I got another text coming. All right, Rich. Tell us just real quickly about your journey into the world of Airbnb. Of course, it isn't what you've always done because it hasn't been that long. And now you are Airbnb, although the title for tonight is short-term rentals. You're Airbnb and not Vrbo, right?
No, we do Vrbo as well. And I just I lean more towards Airbnb, like most hosts. No matter what you do, the vast majority of your bookings are going to come via Airbnb. So we do multiple platforms.
Okay. All right. I think Vrbo was out there first, but Airbnb just kind of overtook them and became the industry giant. Am I right?
You hit it. Well, what VRBO did not do is make it possible for you to throw a dart anywhere on the globe and you can do short-term rentals. That's what Airbnb has done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I never heard it called Vrbo until they started doing those commercials, and it still sounds kind of weird to me. But if that's what they want, I'll respect that, and I'll call you Vrbo, even though it makes me want to say, you know what I mean, Vrbo? All right. So now, how'd you get into this whole thing?
Yeah, so I was introduced to real estate through tax deeds and tax liens. We had a tax lien business. We purchased in Georgia and in Maryland. They both have similar type statutes as far as redemption periods and the ability to seize or go after property as being a superior first lien position. So we kind of learned all the ins and outs of worst scenarios, properties that have been vacant for 7-8 years, needing really bad, in bad condition, needing, full gut rehabs in most cases. And so that business, we learned, how to value real estate. And like most real estate investors, started doing rehabs and then also building up a rental portfolio. At the end of the day, we all aspire to have a passive income.
Yeah.
And that's the end game, right? And so
that's the theme for this month.
We were on. Yeah, well, good. Yeah, and it's a definite good goal for all of us real estate investors to have. And so we were on our road to being that traditional rental portfolio model. And I started looking at the short-term rental model about 4 years ago, and it was like a light bulb moment. I did, like most landlord owners, you're throwing people out or evicting them because they're not paying the rent. Sometimes it's right before the holidays. And you've got to rehab that property all over. Aspiration to be at $400 or $500 net per unit as after debt service. So you got to do quite a lot of properties in order to ramp up your passive income goals. So I basically found the fact that the short-term rental model allows you to make 3 to 4 times that monthly amount as a traditional rental does. And again, was like a light bulb moment for me. The properties stay in much better shape. Even though you have a lot higher traffic of more guests going, we're professionally cleaning and inspecting that property 3 or 4 times a month. And you're not having to do mini rehabs again. And so the benefit of having that revenue boost as well as properties being in much better condition is what really drove me to do that. And so anything that didn't fit a short-term rental model back about 4 years ago, we sold. We had properties in Savannah and Augusta and Macon. And now we strictly only acquire properties specifically for short-term rentals. So we do have a rehab business that we do that with. We have rental arbitrage where we do it with. We have rental arbitrage where we do master leases, and then we also manage properties for other investors as well with this
All
model.
right. But I want to bring Mike in, and I want to ask him the same question. All right, Mike, are you ready? How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
Yeah, appreciate you taking time. I know you're on a trip, and everybody. This is a guy who's committed because he went out to the car just so he could do this. So thank you for that. All right, your journey into the short term rental market has been a little bit different than Rich's. Um, I first met you as a fix and flip guy. You're a fixing and flipping houses up in the Chattanooga area and teaching people how to do it. I was very impressed with the presentation, and really, I've had your number in my book ever since. Your Airbnb, and how'd that happen?
Well, it's really very similar to Rich. I started building 21 years ago at 19 years old, and then kind of just started adding the rental properties and then throwing the flips in the mix. And, like every investor, you see the next shiny object come down. And for me, that was short-term rentals. So we kind of found that about I think it was 2017. We converted a duplex, one unit into a short. Liked it so much we converted the next unit and then added a few houses and then jumped off into these shipping containers.
All right. Okay. Well, let me see if I can get you both on here now. All right. Both of you are there. Hey. All right. So let me throw this out there to you. Now, Mike, let me ask you this one. You're actually building stuff for Airbnb now. Is that right?
Yes. So we're taking the last project was 3 shipping container builds on a brow lot overlooking the Tennessee Valley.
A brow lot. I love the way you say that. Yeah.
On the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we just we're looking for those destination properties and attracting that millennial guest.
Yeah. And I'm telling everybody there how to find it. I looked on YouTube. Just look for that Tiny B&B container home, and you'll be able to watch that the video that he's talking about. All right. That was great. And so they're fully booked and all that. Rich, you come at it a little bit differently. You're not building houses, but you're acquiring them. Tell us a little bit about how you go about acquiring a property that that's going to be a good fit for an Airbnb.
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned, we have a rehab business as well, and like most investors, we'll acquire a distressed property, rehab it, but for the end game of doing short-term rental with it. And then
so it's like the Burr method for Airbnb.
Yeah, so we go into it knowing kind of that's the exit strategy. So in the design features, we'll kind of keep that in mind, and obviously, maximize the number of people that we can sleep in the home, and kind of have that as the design feature. We also do master leases or rental arbitrage, which is a quick way to scale in this business. And so we have in Midtown Atlanta, Ponce City Market area, a lot of mid-sized buildings where there might be 30 units in the building, but we'll have 10 of those that we'll do short-term rentals with. And obviously going after the hot areas that are all walkable, restaurants and shops and everything, the Atlanta Beltline. And so the occupancy levels are kind of peaked out as well. We also have the large 5 and 6 bedroom homes as well in the suburbs that do very well as well. Obviously with the staycations and with what's going on with COVID, that's a big demand right now.
Now I've got a couple questions about the big units. The building I live in Midtown Atlanta explicitly forbids Airbnb, but you get some sort of arrangement with the owners, I guess.
Right. So, we strategically stay away from any condo associations or even homeowners associations for that reason, right?
Okay.
So even if they don't restrict short-term rentals today, there's a risk that at some point in the future that they will. And it's just not worth the upfront investment and cost to put that in place to that risk. So most of our properties, pretty much all of our properties, don't have that hanging over it. And because the mid-sized buildings are typically owned by individual investors or individual developers, that you don't have that as a risk out there.
Now, my other question for you, Rich, is about this master lease idea. I first heard of it from you. I've heard of it from others now, but this is where, if I understand it right, you can tell me if I've got it right. This is where you go in and you lease the property from the owner, and then you sublease it on Airbnb with the owner's knowledge and permission. Do I have it right so far?
You do, but we don't typically use the terminology sublease, right? So we are hosting
Okay.
guests for corporate housing and or short-term rentals. But you're absolutely correct in the way you describe it. The landlord and owner, we actually have that written into the lease that they acknowledge and confirm that that's the purpose of us leasing that property is for that particular purpose.
Okay. Well, the one of the appeals to that for that to me is if they change the rules and a municipality suddenly forbids all Airbnbs or restricts it in such a way it's not practical, then you don't own a property that you can no longer do something with. Um, you can get out of or let the lease run out or something, right?
Exactly, and we actually include terms in there that give us that out, right? So it's a 30-day notice in the event that we have a jurisdiction that restricts or regulates short-term rentals.
Oh, all right. That's interesting. That's good to know. That's pretty smart. Way to go. All right, Mike. You're all about building experiences, and man, everybody needs to go look at this YouTube video because those things are fantastic. And my wife and I watched the video, and we tried to reserve it. Of course, you're all booked up, and there's a good reason why. It's just a beautiful setting, beautiful view, and perfect little thing for a weekend getaway. But you're all about building the experiences. Do you mind telling everybody what some of the other experiences are you're about to put out there for us?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to start sitting on 18 acres on the same mountain, but the opposite bluff. That one will be that one should be ready mid September, and then we're getting ready to start 8 more units just outside of Chattanooga that will include homes and possibly a hobbit house and a few more outside the box stays. So kind of what Rich is saying. When you're looking for a place to put these units, go outside of the metropolitan areas and hit the rural counties. The next county over, just outside of the bigger cities, to find the properties that will let you place these homes there in the first place.
Okay,
So
now
that's kind of what we have in the works.
you told me a little earlier about that you were getting ready to start a treehouse. Is it okay to say that publicly?
Yeah, that's what we're doing is the treehouse.
Okay. Well, you may have said it, but maybe we had a breakup in the audio. But
Yeah, I
um,
think so.
have you ever seen that show on one of the channels about where they go and build custom tree houses for people, and that's all they do in the whole show?
Yeah, that's actually where we picked up our plans was from Treehouse Masters. So
Oh, okay.
we're taking one of their plans and placing them out here.
I wondered about that. That is so cool. All right. So all about the experiences and a Hobbit house. I did not know you had not mentioned that one to me. A Hobbit house. That means that me with my 6'5" frame probably not going to fit in it, right?
Now we'll open it up to where you can get in. You might just have to duck through the door.
Well, actually, when we looked at the tiny house video, and we looked at the way the bed was situated from wall to wall in there, Diana looked at me and said, "I don't think you can fit on that bed." And maybe not, but
It
I'd
might
curl
be
up for
tight.
yeah, I'd curl up for a night or two. It'd be all right.
Sure.
She might have to sleep in the on the sofa or something. But anyway, all right.
Right.
So, Rich, I picked up a story in the Wall Street Journal I think just this morning. I can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday. The days are long here, but um, there is an ongoing battle with regulation of Airbnb in New York City, as you're probably well aware, and the the city council now wants all of every single homeowner to register with the city because they've already declared that Airbnb is basically illegal, and they basically want everybody to rat out their neighbors. What's going on in the legal front? Because this seems to me to be an unconstitutional overreach.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's typically the starting point, legislators latch on to the worst case scenario, the horror story, the party house, the less than 1% of the things that are actually happening in this space. And then they try to, make laws around that one instance. We're going through the same thing in the city of Atlanta right now. Unfortunately, they just recently voted and passed an ordinance that's supposed to be effective September 1st that essentially only allows you to do short-term rentals in a single-family residence if you have a primary residence in Atlanta and you can only do one additional property. Again, the whole premise of this was because of an out-of-town investor that had these two mansions in Buckhead that basically didn't pay attention or didn't really care and intentionally had parties like, TMZ parties, like crazy, 40, 50, 60 people. And so, the law gets written based on those few occurrences, unfortunately. So, I think the only thing that we can do as investors is participate and have lobbying efforts. I'm actually a board member of the statewide association for Georgia, the Short-Term Rental Owners Association of Georgia, that is a non-for-profit specific to helping owners' rights. And you're absolutely right. It's a property rights issue. So we are pushing things on the state level that basically would disallow a local jurisdiction to outright ban or have a direct impact on what you can do with your property.
Yeah, I just remembered that the ban in New York says that you can only rent out a room in your place if you're there. You can't be away. You have to live there and you have to be home. So you can only rent like a room or two. And yeah, that's getting a little pushback.
Rich, where are they at with that legislation? I've kind of followed that, and it seems to stall. Every year for the last 5 years, I believe they've ran it up, and I hope it gets somewhere. I just not seeing much help there.
Yeah, so I think, like I said, about a month and a half ago, they voted to approve it to be effective September 1st. But from the recent meetings, they are still trying to work out all the details because there's questions that are coming up that they are not able to answer. So I think the expectation is it's realistically going to get pushed out until next year before everything gets finalized.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Let me throw out some practical questions for both of you. If somebody is listening to this right now and they think, oh yeah, I think I'd like to get started in this, what does it take in terms of time, talent, and treasure? Rich, you go first.
Well, for me, the lowest barrier to entry, of course, you can, if you have a rental property that you've already got a tenant in, you can convert over to short-term rental pretty quickly. Or you can engage in a master lease like we've talked about earlier. But you can also rent out a portion of your home if you have a basement with a separate entrance to basically get started quickly to kind of learn the business, right?
Okay. So not a whole lot, maybe $500 or $1,000?
Well, yeah. So a little more than that to do it right. I mean, if you have a basement that's already furnished, you're still going to need $1,500 to $2,000 to really get everything fully up and running for towels and linens and things that you're going to need to run the business. This isn't a hobby, right? So you want to treat it as a business. If you're doing a 3-bedroom house, and let's say you had your last tenant move out, and you want to fully stage that property and get it up and running, your upfront investment for that to set it up is in the $8,000 to $10,000 range to do it right.
Okay.
Right. So you've got that as your startup investment. Now,
Okay.
The good news is that once you start cash flowing and you have it all set up and you're live, you're going to potentially net, between $1,500 to $2,000 after your expenses every month. That you'll get recouped that initial investment within a 6-month period usually.
That's a very good return, Mike. In your experience, what if somebody were going to follow your footsteps? How much cash would they need to get started?
The caveat with that is it's hard to go to a bank and say, I want to build a house in a shipping container and stick it on the side of a mountain. So a lot of that was self-funded, and a lot of it was, financial friends, IRAs, that sort of thing. That, and then we had seller financing on the lot. So to get the one container up and running, I was in about $100,000. Then the other two were about 80 a piece. And
Yeah.
then, but yeah, Rich hit the nail on the head with the others, and I think he's right on with those numbers. What I would say to somebody that's just starting out is just be careful with your numbers as far as when you put the
Right.
units out to rent. We see so many that people put on Airbnb, and they're putting them on there for $35 a night for a full 2-bedroom house, and I'm like, yeah, man, you might as well just rent it out. You're not doing any good there. And then they're killing the other hosts in the area.
Yeah. All right. So you're right, and that's good because at some point you've got to come up with a way of running your numbers. What is a good tool for doing that? I mean, I know me. I can develop a spreadsheet and I can look at ROI calculations and I can do all the math and write the formulas and I can do all that myself, but not everybody can. So, how do you guys do it?
Yeah, so we use, and Mike may use the same tool as well, but one of the biggest players that kind of aggregates short-term rental data is called AirDNA, and it's a totally separate company from Airbnb. They're actually doing data scrapes and capturing the historical performance of occupancy and nightly rates, not only for Airbnb but for Vrbo and some of the other booking platforms, so that you can subscribe to a particular city that you're interested in or an area, and you can actually drill into the what the other 3 or 4 properties are doing that are close by, and showing you what the historical performance is on that to kind of help you understand the potential to forecast going forward. Whether it's average nightly rate of $200 or 60 or 70% occupancy, as an example.
All right.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. All right. So, another kind of a practical question: where do you get your furniture? Because I imagine that's one of your big upfront expenses, even if you get a master lease.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
Mike.
get a lot of ours off of. Yeah, we get a lot of ours directly from Amazon, and then we'll shoot some from IKEA. And it's not there's not a lot of furnishings to a tiny home, so you're ordering a mattress, a bed, and then a lot of the stuff is just the same things over and over. And we have a shopping cart on Amazon. We can just hit repeat. So
Oh, okay, that makes sense. What about you, Rich?
Yeah, we do a lot of local furniture outlets that can pump out a lot of volume quickly. Back in the early days, we used to do a lot of OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace and estate sales and things like that. But if you're going to scale a business, you really have to have a high volume, consistent access. And so we have strategic staging companies that we work with that we can go to at any given time to furnish our units. So if we need to put 5 units up and running quickly, and we're after a particular look and feel, we can get that done within, we can order everything within a half a day and have it delivered the next day. So,
Okay.
but if you're just starting out, you want to try to get some of those higher quality items, and if you've got the time to do it, the estate sales are a good option.
All right. All right. Um, Mike, I just got to ask you this, brother. I've known you for a while, and I don't want to presume anything, but when I looked at the video of the inside of your units, they are so beautiful. Everything is perfect. All of the accoutrements, the little things that are out there and the colors and everything. And I thought, man, I'm not so sure that's Mike's real strength. I think he's a builder. So who's your decorator, brother?
Man, I got to give all the credit to my wife. She kills it with the decorating.
Okay.
Yeah, I can bring it home with the design and the layout. I'm really good at creating the space, and then she brings it home with the colors and the fixtures and the everything that goes on the inside. So yeah, I cannot take credit for that.
Well, you can take credit for marrying her. and
Hey,
I
she
can tell
picked me.
I can tell you this. I can tell you this. You guys got it going because your design and her decor, it is fantastic. It's really beautiful. And congratulations to you. Beautiful job. Rich, do you have any videos on YouTube of the inside of yours? Maybe I need to compliment your designer and decorator.
On our Facebook page, Diamond Edge Short-Term Rentals, we've done a couple of walkthroughs, and it's funny, I know, but we have very similar stories. My wife's full-time in the business as well, and that's one of her departments is staging and setup. And so I'm with Mike. I couldn't really figure out what color to do what with, and so that's my wife's department. She does a great job for us in staging and setting up all our properties.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, both of you are doing so well, and I'm really proud to count both of you as friends. And thank you so much for your time here. I'm going to come back to you in just a moment for a parting shot. I want you to gather your thoughts and say something to inspire the troops. Okay? And I'll be right back to you in just a second. All right. I need to say a little word about, I can't get this out of here. Okay, there we go. I need to say a little word about ongoing support. Chip couldn't be with us here tonight, but if you need money for your project, whether it's a fix and flip or a rental or a short-term rental or a commercial loan, you need to call Chip. Chip at baymtn.com. Chip at baymtn.com, because Bay Mountain doesn't loan in all 50 states, but if they don't loan in the state where you are right now, Chip will find someone. It's like a concierge service, one-stop shop, and he'll get you the best rate and term from a borrower who really gets it done and will treat you like the people at Bay Mountain will. And if you're in a state where Bay Mountain loans, you can't go wrong with them. Bay Mountain Capital, baymountaincapitol.com or baymtm.com. Let's go back to the guys now for parting shots. All right, here we are. Okay, who wants to go first? Inspire us.
Mike?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. All right, so as a real estate investor, and I think Roger talked about this earlier on, there's a lot of different objects out there, a lot of different angles in this business. And whether you're doing fixing and flipping, wholesaling, whatever your particular niche is, it's always going to be good to know about the short-term rental model as a tool in the toolbox. At the end of the day, when you purchase real estate, it's always about the exit strategy. And so we've helped a lot of investors that before the real estate market has gotten as hot as it is now, if you're not able to sell a property, this is a good way to kind of liquidate and generate some revenue in the meantime. And the numbers are very compelling. It is potentially 3 to 4 times and sometimes higher than that on the larger properties. And so if this is something that you would like to explore further, I would definitely encourage that. You always want to be able to know what those options are and short-term rentals. And I'm kind of biased to the Airbnb platform. We talked about this earlier. One of the reasons why this is an option to investors now is because of the great job that the Airbnb platform has done to bring this to the masses. You can go anywhere in the world right now and do this business. And so that would be my one advice. Just learn it. If you're not going to use it, you're not going to core focus it, at least have it as an option out there and understand what the option looks like.
And you got some tools for learning this business at your website right there, which I've had on screen for a little while, richmunroe.com. Am I right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you guys
definitely help you with.
Reach out to Rich and learn from the master. Okay, Mike.
Yeah. So my biggest piece of advice is get educated and implement. Being around the RIA for so long, how many people that I would see at the RIA meetings over, and what's going on? Well, I'm looking at this, or I'm thinking about this 4 years later. So pick what you want to do. If that's short-term rentals, go after it. Find a mentor or a coach, or someone like Rich that's doing it hard and heavy and is offering the education, and latch on and do it. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at it and thinking about it 2 years from now, and that's not what you want to do.
All right. Good word. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us tonight. And I want to thank all of you for joining us and giving us some time for this evening to get informed and inspired about short-term rentals. And these guys can do it. And I hope that you will reach out to them. Go stay in one of their places and definitely learn from them how to make it happen in your own life. That's it for tonight. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12:30. In the meantime, here's our party word.